Hi, I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times. Here with me today are two Democratic candidates for State Senate in District 6. We have Lon Childers and Roxanna Hanford. Also in the room with us today is fellow editorial board member Robert Blaskowitz, assistant managing editor. So why don't we begin by asking the basic question, why are you running? Roxanna.
Well, I've been involved in politics in a number of different ways. I've ran a bunch of campaigns. I'm currently the party chairman. I've been a county commissioner. As such, I've served on a lot of state boards, and I'm very involved and very interested. And so I thought that maybe I could help more at a state level than a local level.
Okay. Lon.
I've been involved in politics for a while. I was on the Tri Creek School Board for 10 years and left them in real good shape. And I just thought that Sue Lansky was just a wonderful senator. She was there for decades, and I'd like to try and fill her spot and do just an excellent job. She was good, down to earth with the people. You know, she kept in contact with her district and worked very hard at it, and that's what I plan on doing.
Okay. Now, if you're elected, you'll have a lot to do, obviously. What would be your first priority for the first bill you'd want to file? Lon?
I'm a union labor, and I would really like to get our infrastructure going a lot better and get some more jobs out there. I know the unemployment rate is down. I think it's down to 6.4, and that's pretty good, especially nationwide. But I think we can do a lot better than that.
Okay. Roxanna?
Well, one of the most important things to my heart is I've worked for a number of years in regards to domestic violence. I've served over 10 years on our local Tri-County, Jasper, Newton, and Pulaski County Crisis Center Board. I'm currently working on the Lake County Board with the forensics team to help open a clinic in regards to domestic violence and whatnot. Speaking with some of the senators that I already know in Indianapolis, I've already been asked if I'm successful to serve on some committees down there. And so it's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I'd like to continue working with domestic violence and funding for such things.
Okay. And how would you characterize it currently?
Currently, it's very under a lot of the people are very undereducated as to what constitutes domestic violence, and it's way underfunded. So I'd like to work on the educational aspect of it. Domestic violence can be so much. Domestic violence, I have this picture in my head where this person is crouched down in a corner in more or less a fetal position with this dooming shadow over them. You know, when you feel that way, that's domestic violence. It can be male, it can be female, it can be child. Domestic violence knows no boundaries, and it's something that needs to be dealt with. It's crippling. It's absolutely crippling.
Okay. Lon, would you care to address that as well?
I actually know what she's talking about because my daughter works for the DCSF, and she can't talk about her cases, but she just comes home just exhausted from, you know, probably what the children go through, and she's, you know, you just wouldn't believe it, and what she has to do, you know, for reports and the parents and, you know, separations and all that. So I know where she's coming from on that, I really do. And it just, sometimes it just makes my daughter just, I can't think of the word for it, but exhausted, you know, I mean, just dealing with it. So, and it's kind of mind-boggling too when you got to deal with that stuff with babies and little kids. So.
Okay. Well, moving to a different topic, the politics of same-sex marriage kind of roiled the legislature this year. You know, where do you stand on the issue, Lon?
You had to ask me that, didn't you? Personally, I don't agree with it. I just have my standards as marriage is a man and a woman, and that's all I can say about it. I just don't think it should be a law. I don't. So.
Okay, so how would you vote on the proposed constitutional amendment?
For it? You mean for the same-sex marriage law?
Well, it's the proposal this year was the constitutional amendment that would ban same-sex marriages, basically putting into the Constitution what the law already says.
I would vote for it.
Okay. Roxanna?
I would vote against it. I don't think, you're right, number one, it took way too much of our session this year. There were things that should have been and could have been worked on. Same-sex marriage took up way too much of the session's time. That is none of my business. Whom you choose to love is none of my business. And I don't think that it should be a law. Sometimes, and I can't believe this as a politician that I'm going to say this, sometimes politics gets too involved in our lives. This isn't something that a state or a country should regulate.
Okay. One of the other big changes this year was the legislation on that was sort of heading toward repealing the personal property tax. This is, for businesses, their equipment and whatnot. And so this is an issue that kind of got kicked down the road. I'm curious what you think of the elimination of personal property taxes.
Well, as a business owner, I know it sounds a little contrary to what would be popular, but I am not in favor of doing away with the personal property tax for small businesses. It would hurt our economy and our local communities too much. We all have to pay our share. We've all paid our share. And so to do away with it, it would hurt our schools, our libraries, all of the things that are continued to be paid for by our local taxes. And if they don't pay their share, then where does it go? It comes back on the rest of us. Until they come up with a way to replace that tax, it's not one that's hurting anyone. Leave it in place.
Okay. Lon?
Yeah, I agree with Roxanna on that. My main concern is if you take away a tax, you got to replace it somewhere, and usually it's the middle class. Whenever you get bombarded, well, we'll just charge the middle class again, and I don't think they should do that at all. It's just terrible. The impact would hurt the middle class, and actually I don't see it creating any jobs either. So I'm against it myself.
Okay. Speaking of job creation, how would you do it?
Well, road. They just passed, I think, $200 million for road work, and actually I think they had $400 million in there, and they cut it in half. So I would try at least to get the other $200 million back, and especially after this winter, look at the roads. So that'd be one main way I'd get the infrastructure going and jobs.
Okay.
Infrastructure and jobs, key words, economic development. How do you attract economic development? $1 million question. I mean, if you reach out to the existing businesses and see what they need to help support their businesses, maybe we can attract some businesses that way. The infrastructure, yes. Roads, absolutely. I think that maybe our Michigan shoreline is a little underutilized. We can do something with it. There's a number of possibilities, but the roads are a primary concern. I've had the opportunity to travel quite a bit in Europe and whatnot. You don't see the roads in these kind of conditions. There's got to be a better way to build a better road, and we're just missing the boat on it. And when they start cutting road funding, that's wrong, because that's not your taxes. That's not your personal property taxes that pays that, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's your gas tax. That's your excise tax. That's why it's so important to shop for these things where you live, so those tax dollars can come back to your community and help your roads in your community.
Okay. I'm asking all the questions. I don't want to cut you out.
Let's shift gears to education. There was a lot of talk in this session about Common Core, and in fact the legislature decided to do away with Common Core and install Indiana's own education curriculum standards. Your thoughts on that and where we should be going with education standards? Roxanna, you first.
I agree that something needs to be done. With Indiana ranking 48th in education, I agree something needs to be done. Doing away with the core program, I don't think was the right thing. I think until we get our Department of Education, our superintendent's board, and the educational system and boards set in Indianapolis as they need to be, they're no more together on what to do than how to do it. I believe that the teachers and the institutions have done the absolute best they could with what has been out there. Changes need to be made, but there's other changes that need to be made before they did away with the core.
Lonnie?
It's Lon.
Lon, sorry.
What they're doing downstate, they're just trying to eliminate the superintendent altogether, and I don't understand that. I mean, she's there for a purpose. It's set curriculum for the state, and then each corporation sets their own curriculum according to their needs at their schools, and they're just trying to take away all of it, and they're changing the test, which they don't even take any input from anybody, and you would think at least they would call back a few superintendents down there to get some input on what should be done and how it should be done, not just hit the hammer and go for it. So I don't understand what they're doing down there, but I know Mitch Daniels, when he started cutting education 4 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, they took a lot of money away, and they put that into charter schools, and it hurt a lot of corporations. There were some that went bankrupt over it, and that also forced them to borrow money that they had to pay interest on, and it cost the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars just to do that, just to survive. So,
Well, following up on that, we have seen a lot of local school districts turn to referendums to try to get funding to shore up their own finances. And we have seen some drastic cuts by the state in terms of education funding. Your thoughts on funding, the funding picture? Is it done the right way? Does it need to be changed? Are referendums letting individual communities increase their own taxes to raise funds? Is that the way to go, or is there another?
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but the state has a formula that, and it goes by the needy and free lunch and stuff like that, and that's part of how they work this formula. Well, when you send, say to Lowell, say you send $5,000 a kid to Lowell, and you send to Gary, you send $12,000 a kid. Now, I don't know how they can figure that out, but it should be equal somewhere, and balance the monies so that everybody has a fair shot at surviving. So,
going for the additional referendum of tax dollars, that's really difficult when approximately 74 to 76% of your taxes already goes to fund your local personal property taxes, goes to fund local education. And then with the addition of the vouchers that allow you to, to go into the other schools, that's putting an additional burden on the public education schools too. It was always, if you wanted to go to private school, you paid. It was private. Private dollars pay for private schools, not public education dollars. And so I don't think that the voucher program is correct. I don't think that's a right way to go. And that too is putting a burden on public education. So.
Lon, are you vouchers? Are you opposed or for vouchers
for charter schools?
Well, no, this is for private schools. Vouchers.
Oh no, I don't think that's fair, especially to the taxpayers. You're taking monies away from them, and these charter schools and even the vouchers. You could take that voucher and you could put your kid, say, in Lowell, and say, I'm going to take the voucher, I'm going to put my kid to Hammond. Lowell has to supply that kid a ride to and from school. And I don't understand that at all. No, I'm not for it.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. We should talk about South Shore extension. What do you think?
I think it should go to Lowell. But I think they picked 4 sites, which is Dyer, Cherville, St. John, and Lowell was last, because I guess obviously it's going to cost the most money to get out that far. But there is a lot of people. I work up north, and there's a lot of people that drive from down there all the way up there just to park, and then So I would like to see it go. Really would.
Okay.
That's a tough one. You're asking all the tough ones today. Well, being uniquely situated throughout the Senate 6th District, Lake, Newton, and Benton County, Newton County has been considered the bedroom community to both. We're the bedroom community to North Region. We're also the bedroom community to the Lafayette, Indianapolis area. So, rail transportation, we have the Amtrak that comes through, but it doesn't have a stop. So, I don't know that we would ever see it. Maybe Lowell would see it.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe Lowell would see it. But the good part about the expansion of the South Shore would be additional jobs, would be additional ease of travel. Like I said, I've had the opportunity to travel. I always do it by rail. I love rail. I'd prefer rail to air or bus any day. As a kid, I lived in the suburbs of Chicago. Constantly took the train into the city. Loved it. It's a good way to travel. I would like to see the plan, the absolute plan for this, because each and every resident that bought their homes, they all bought it for this is my intention. And my intention was, when I bought it, to either resell it for a profit, and if I've got a train running through the back of it, that's probably not going to happen. Or I bought it to live the rest of my life here. And that may not be as desirable if I've got a train running through my backyard. So I understand the NIMBY factor, the not in my backyard aspect of it. And because of that, I'd like to see the full plan myself.
Yeah, just to touch base on that again, I would too, because I know the federal government gives like half the money back or something, but the other half would probably come from the taxpayers. And I tell you, in Lake County, we pay enough taxes, so that would be a downside to it. So, and it concerns me because we don't need any more taxes.
Okay. Robert, did you have more questions?
We could talk about maybe real briefly casinos. There's been a lot of talk in the legislature about possibly a land-based casino for Gary to kind of shore up boost casino revenues, which have been decreasing, obviously. Your thoughts on a land-based casino for Gary, Roxanne?
I obviously cannot speak against the casinos. My youngest daughter works at a casino, so I can't speak against them. I don't see the harm. It's a business, but what I would like to see before they would allow a land base is that the funding has been set straight, because a certain amount of the lottery, a certain amount of the casinos, that revenue was supposed to go to education. And I don't know that we're seeing all of the monies that we're supposed to be seeing. That was one of my things in regards to a lot of the budgets, is the oversight that some of the committees had, with missing dollars downstate and then appearing dollars downstate, and then where they were allocated or not allocated. And so there's been far too many oversights down there. And before they start adding more to these areas, I think they need to be better defined.
Lon, your thoughts on casinos?
Personally, I'm not really for the casinos. They just seem like they just cause trouble. I mean, look at the areas they're in. You get out a block and they're just desolated. And I've known people go there. They get paid on Friday, go there Friday, and there goes their whole check. So I can't see. I'm not a big gambler myself. I play the lottery, but I think I've been to the casino twice with my wife, and it's just a waste of money to me. And to put a land casino in Gary, look at the Rail Cats. Nobody even goes there, or the convention center. I don't know. It just seems like a waste of money. So, sorry to say, but I mean, I'm just not for a casino at all. And, once again, somehow it's going to come back to the taxpayers somewhere down the road. So, I wouldn't say I was for it too much.
Okay. We should probably also ask about another big region push we've had in recent years is for a trauma center. What do you think the state's involvement in that should be?
A trauma center?
Right.
I've watched some specials on trauma centers, and they save lives. So I wouldn't be against that at all. But here we go again. The money, where it's going to come from, where are they going to put it? And you'd have to centralize it somewhere, because I think the closest one is downtown, and they got to fly people downtown in a chopper, So if they had one down in northern Indiana somewhere, I think it'd be worthwhile.
Okay.
Obviously, no one can dispute the need for a trauma center. I know where I live in Newton County, the nearest trauma center is in Illinois. And when our local ambulance departments are told that if it's this level of an accident or situation, they must go to a trauma center, we have to take them to Illinois. We can't even keep them in county, in state, when maybe our hospitals could treat them because of a certain level in the state's definition. We have to take them to Illinois. So the need for a trauma center is definitely here, definitely. And again, promoting jobs.
So what's the state's involvement in creating and maintaining them?
Well, I do know that they have a certain amount of financial responsibility to it. Where they're at on it, I'm not really sure.
Well, actually, I'm asking, what should it be?
What should it be? They should definitely be involved. They will have a certain amount of state financial burden and responsibility to it. The rest of it, I'm not sure. I would certainly love to follow up on that, see what we could do about making that happen.
Okay, and I should ask you that same question. What do you think the state's involvement should be?
As far as the trauma center goes,
Right.
You know, they spend that much time on same-sex marriage. They should spend a little time on saving somebody's lives. So, I mean, I would definitely, you know, get involved, you know, mull it over and figure something out, you know, because that's a lot more important than a lot of stuff they go over.
Okay. One final question we should ask is, what sets you apart from your opponent? What makes you a better choice?
I'm an honest, hard worker. I've been a laborer all my life, and I would work exceptionally hard at this job. I would keep in touch with my constituents and the people in my district, and just do the best job I could.
Okay.
Well, I think as a business owner, I have the business experience. I have the accounting experience to deal with some of the financial and funding issues that we've talked about, you know, with over 20 years experience on that. I've served 8 years as a county commissioner, and that's put me on a number of boards, both locally and at state level. I've served on some committees in Indianapolis, and I would like to continue to do so. I want to do the job. I want to go to work. I don't want to just fill a seat. I want to go to work. And given the people, places, and things that I've already learned, I would like to continue that. I'd like to help build a better Indiana.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm afraid that's all the time we have here. Again, I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times, here with two Democratic candidates for state senator in District 6, Lon Childers, Roxanna Hanford, and fellow editorial board member Robert Blaskowitz is here as well. Thank you for viewing.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.